Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth lesson of the ESP32 Pixel course. In this lesson, I will teach you how to use the ESP32 Pixel board to display the classic LVGL demo. This video is divided into 4 parts. First, installing the LVGL library. Second, configuring the LVGL library. Third, analyzing the course code. And fourth, uploading the code. Now, let's get started with this lesson. First, download our course document and then find the code for the fourth lesson. Open it. If you are still unsure where to download the course document, you can visit our official website. Click on Wiki to access the Wiki page, then click the GitHub link in the upper right corner. Next, open this repository, where all our course materials will be stored. You can click here to download it. Next, we return to the Arduino IDE. Since we need to use the LVGL library in this lesson, the first thing we need to do is install the LVGL library. Click on this icon to open the Library Manager and search for LVGL. The first search result is what we need. We need to select version 8.3.11 and then click Install. The installation process is quick. After installing, we also need to configure the LVGL library before we can use it. But how do we configure it? Good question. Click on File and then open Preferences. The path here is the library directory of the Arduino IDE, which is used to store installed libraries. We will copy it, paste it here, and navigate to that directory. This is the directory where the libraries are stored. We open the LVGL library folder and then find this file, which is the configuration file for the LVGL library. We will copy it, then return to the library directory and paste the copied file here. Next, we need to rename this file to lv_conf.h. Please make sure to place this configuration file in the same directory as the LVGL library and change the file name to lv_conf.h. Both of these steps must be done correctly, otherwise, you will encounter an error message during code compilation, indicating that the configuration file cannot be found. Next, I will demonstrate how to modify the configuration file according to your needs. First, based on the comments, we need to change this value to 1 to enable the configuration file. This allows us to continue reviewing the contents of the configuration file. Here, the definition of the color depth for the LVGL library uses a 16-bit color depth, which is RGB 565 encoding, and it is consistent with the color depth used by our Pixel board, so we don't need to modify this. If you're still unsure what color depth is, you can refer to the content in the second lesson, where it is explained in detail. Next, scroll down to find the LV memory custom setting and change it to 1. We will not use the memory allocation functions provided by LVGL to manage memory, as it requires us to set the size of the memory pool, which can be challenging for beginners who may not know how to set it appropriately. Therefore, I recommend not using this default memory management method, but instead using the memory allocation functions provided by the standard library below. These functions will automatically allocate memory addresses without requiring us to set the memory pool size, making it more convenient to use. Next, scroll down to find these 2 macro definitions, which control the refresh interval for the screen display and the touch detection interval. We can reasonably shorten these 2 intervals. Based on my testing, this can effectively improve the display frame rate, making the visuals appear significantly smoother. Next, find this macro definition and set it to 1. We will not use the clock source provided by LVGL. Instead, we will use a custom clock source. Since our Pixel board uses the ESP32 S3 chip, we can use the ESP32 clock source as the clock for LVGL, which will be more accurate and run more smoothly. Therefore, we need to comment out these two lines, and use the two lines below instead. Next, let's look at the next macro definition, which is explained in the comments as dots per inch, DPI. The value of this macro definition is not arbitrary, it needs to be calculated. I found the formula for the calculation in DeepSeek and obtained the result. If you are using the Pixel board, you can directly change it to 187, just like I did. The calculation method is quite simple. The resolution of the Pixel board is 800 × 480, and the size is 5 inches. You can apply the formula directly to get the result. Next, scroll down to find this macro definition. Set it to 1 to enable the perf monitor, which will display the current CPU usage and frame rate in the bottom right corner while running the UI. Following that is the memory usage monitor. You can choose to enable it as well, but since we are not using the memory allocation functions provided by LVGL, this monitor will not display anything even if it is turned on. Next, let's find the last item. Use the search tool to look for demo. The macro definitions following demo usage are all used to enable demos. For this lesson, we will use the first demo, so we will set this demo's macro to 1. Of course, in the Arduino IDE code, you also need to call this demo using a function for it to be displayed on the screen. Otherwise, even if it's enabled in the configuration file, it won't show up. Moreover, there are more demos available in LVGL. If you want to use the benchmark demo, you'll need to first set the widget demo's macro to 0 to disable it, and then set the benchmark macro to 1 to enable this demo. You can enable all demos, but it will waste flash space, as once these demos are enabled, they will be compiled into the chip. Next, go back to the Arduino IDE, comment out the function that calls the widget demo, and call the benchmark demo function instead. It's important to note that you can only call one demo function at a time. You must not call multiple demos simultaneously. In this lesson, I will use the widget demo for demonstration, as it looks better and showcases many components in LVGL. Of course, after watching this video lesson, you can choose your favorite demo to try out the effects. Okay, we have now completed the modifications to the LVGL configuration file. Click Save and close this configuration file. Next, let's go back to the Arduino IDE and take a look at the code. Now, if we compile the code directly, the compiler will show an error indicating that it cannot find these two header files. Let's try compiling it to see if it matches what I've mentioned. Look, a compilation error has occurred, indicating that it cannot find the lv_demos.h file in the demos directory. So how do we resolve this compilation error? It's quite simple. We open the LVGL library folder and find the demos folder and the examples folder. Copy these two folders, then open the src folder and paste the demos and examples folders here. Now, when the LVGL code is compiled, the compiler will be able to find these two required header files in the src folder. However, before we do that, I would like to continue explaining how the LVGL code works, so we won't compile it just yet. Aside from the 3 header files from the LVGL library, the other headers are the ones we've used in previous lessons, so I won't elaborate on them. The extended I/O chip is also used in the same way as in previous lessons. Let's take a look at the setup function and examine the code that will run on the board. After powering on the Pixel board, the first step is to initialize the serial port. Then, the extended I/O chip is used to initialize the touch screen and enable the screen's backlight. Next, the display is initialized, and once that is complete, we can use the lv_init function to initialize LVGL. Additionally, we need to initialize the LVGL driver functions. This includes two drivers, one for the display and another for the touch. This function needs to be constructed based on the LVGL examples, and I have already modified it and placed it here. Before initializing the display and touch drivers, it first initializes the buffer. Here, a double buffering technique is used. This is buffer 1, and this is buffer 2. Both are sized at 1/8 of the screen resolution. Of course, you can also try using a single buffer. Just change buffer 2 to null. The buffer declarations are in the header file section and are global variables, with sizes that are already optimal. The LVGL documentation recommends a size of 1/10, but based on my testing, modifying the buffer size does not have a significant impact on the frame rate. Next, let's look at this part, which contains the code for initializing the display driver. First, it declares a structure that uses an object-oriented programming approach, virtualizing the display driver into this structure to store information about the display. This includes the display's width and height, which are declared in the gfx_config.h file. Next, the display driver functions are also stored within this structure, which can be found above. This display driver function is very simple. It actually uses the point drawing function from the lovyanGFX library. However, to enable LVGL to use this function to draw components like buttons, sliders, charts, and so on, we also need to pass parameters from the LVGL driver function to the lovyanGFX library, such as the range for drawing points, length and width. Then, the lovyanGFX point drawing function will render the specified color within the defined range. Finally, this function saves the prepared image to the buffer, waiting to refresh the display on the screen. The function below is the touch driver function. Like the display driver function, it needs to be saved in the touch driver structure during initialization. The touch driver code is even simpler. It uses the lovyanGFX library's getTouch function to obtain the screen coordinates of the touch event. Then, the retrieved coordinates are passed to the LVGL touch driver function's parameter data, which is also a structure that can store the x and y-axis coordinates. Alright, the code for the two driver functions is the most challenging part of this lesson. If you have understood how they work, you will definitely find the next sections easy to follow. After the LVGL driver initialization is complete, we can run the UI. The UI we are using in this lesson is a demo provided by the LVGL library. It's important to note that the functions for displaying the UI should be placed within the setup function, meaning the UI functions only need to run once. Next, we come to the loop function, which is extremely simple. It contains only a delay function and a function called lv_timer_handler. Don't underestimate this function. It is a core function of LVGL. It handles all tasks and timers for LVGL, driving the event loop to ensure that UI updates, animations, timer callbacks, and other tasks run smoothly. Therefore, we need to continuously run it in the loop function, but to avoid overloading the CPU, there should be at least a 5 milliseconds interval. So, when writing code, it's best not to place code inside the loop function, as this can affect the execution cycle of core functions, thereby reducing the UI's frame rate and making it less smooth. Alright, we have now completed the analysis of all the code used in this lesson. Next, we can connect the Pixel board to the computer and upload the code to see how this demo runs on the board. However, before that, we need to configure the build environment. I demonstrated this step in detail during the first lesson, so I won't elaborate here. I do want to emphasize that for the partition scheme, you must select Huge App, because we are using the LVGL library, which requires more flash space than the code from previous lessons. Otherwise, you will encounter compilation errors due to insufficient space for storing the app. Okay, click here to start the compilation. Since the compilation takes a while, I'll skip this part of the process. Additionally, if you don't want to manually configure the lv_conf.h file, you can use the one I have already set up. Open the course files, then open the file folder where I have stored it. You just need to copy it to the Arduino library directory. Once the code has been uploaded, the Pixel board will automatically reset. Look, this is the most classic demo of LVGL, and it looks pretty good. The sliding process is quite smooth, with no stuttering. When stopped, the frame rate is 100, and it slightly decreases while sliding, but the CPU usage is still low. Alright, that concludes this lesson. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.